usually write about 2 or 3 hours a night, and I usually just wait for that time to really kind of get it all out. A lot of people have an image of myself being kind of tortured, trying to get the voices out. But for myself, I find that the inspiration is pretty much endless. My name is Dominic. I'm a writer. I write poetry, I write short stories, and I also perform under the name Tourettes.
Tourettes, motherfucking one. It's the name you can trust. I'm the reason your parents told you to stay off drugs. My brain is fucked. See, Tourettes is my Tyler Durden, my imaginary friend giving my life a purpose.
The nature of performing and writing and stuff, you probably just take the more extreme things of your life, so whether that's like your depression or your happiness or drug taking or sex or whatever, and just kind of write about that. And I tend to write about it in a more extreme kind of way as well. And so I guess Tourette's is just like a hyper version of me. There's a piece called Nowhere. There's a place I want to tell you about, and you may have been there before, or you might even be there right now, and if not, it's easy to find. Just look in every fucked up job that makes ends meet, and subdivided shelters at the bottom of dead-end streets.
This is the happiest place on earth.
My family moved to Greyland when I was about 3 years old. It was pretty different than it is now. It's a little bit sort of run down and pretty poor, but it was also like had quite a community, you know. There was like a lot of artists and stuff here. I've lived around here for like 27 years. The way house prices are going and being a poet, I don't know if it's going to be much longer. Behind me here is the house where I grew up. It's a pretty crazy house. It's like had a real strange feeling about it. So you'd always like be weird noises and things kind of moving around. I don't know if it was haunted or I don't know what was up, but it was definitely had a strange feeling about it. But it was pretty cool though, because like my best friend like lived in that house, one house up. This is Greyland Primary School, where they attempted to teach me to read. Teachers that they had in the special education unit said that I'd never be able to read and write and stuff, and my parents were just like, oh, that's bullshit. When I was younger, I was dyslexic. I guess I still am. How my mind works, I don't know if it's the same for all dyslexics, is that everything sort of goes quite quickly, and it's quite often you miss it. You sort of seem to skip over things and miss things, and I think that's why reading and spelling and all that stuff can often be difficult. You just view the world a bit differently when you've kind of been through something like that. I think maybe ostracised is a bit of an extreme word, but you're kind of outside of things. And being a white male, I guess maybe you wouldn't normally get to experience that in Western society. I learned how to read when I was about 7, and then got really into books and that kind of thing. And then when I was about 12, I entered a school poetry competition and won it. And that kind of like was the first time I sort of realised that words could really affect people, because everyone was really blown away, and especially I think because I was dyslexic, everyone was real impressed. And winning that competition was the catalyst that got me thinking that I wanted to be a writer. Dyslexia to me now is almost like a positive thing. Like, a lot of ways, obviously, I wish I didn't have to go through all the bullshit I did at school. But like now it's like, I don't think I'd be able to do the things I do creatively in my style without it. When I was 14, I had a teacher actually introduce me to punk rock music. And when I heard that, I was like, this is the music, you know, I really want to make this music. My friend was a guitarist and my other friend was a bass player. So I started playing the drums, and then I just kind of wanted to be in a really shitty punk band, but unfortunately, like, everyone kept getting better at the instruments, and then we'd have to kick them out and get more people in. And then I just, from there, like, played in, like, oh, I can't even count, like, maybe like almost a dozen punk bands. I was doing the rapping and doing that, and at one point, I guess I felt like the punk music wasn't really as relevant to me as it was, and I just decided to take the hip-hop thing more seriously. And then as I did that, it kind of just took off, and the punk thing kind of fell away. Well, I used to just rap, like, we used to go to punk shows and be drunk out the front just rapping. Well, for whatever reason, I sort of always had this sort of ability to sort of pick up on people's insecurities and their sensitive points, so, which was never really that useful a skill except for being an arsehole. But when I started battle rapping, it came really in handy because I could really sort of make the other person feel pretty small. Probably the best I ever got at freestyling was when I was about 21, 22. Then I could just tell whole stories and off the top of my head and do all that kind of stuff. When hip-hop started getting big in this country, everyone thought they were going to have this career and get rich, so people were really worried about embarrassing themselves or whatever, so people just stopped freestyling. And nowadays, the big thing is some like dude in the States will come out with a style, and then everyone will do that for a year, and then some other dude will do that, and everyone will do that for 6 months. And I just can't think of anything more boring than that, you know? A lot of people sort of put me in the box of just being like, I guess what they call like alternative hip-hop, or like kind of like abstract or whatever. Like, I mean, I'm not really into like genres, you know, as such. I'm not such a cliche to say that, but I think it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I'm just making the hip hop that I'm making. I think that's when you kind of know you're doing something right, is when you're outside of what everyone else is doing. Because the ultimate thing with creativity is you want to create something original, you want to create something new. And if you're kind of fitting in with what everyone else is doing, then you're probably not achieving that, you know? I was rapping and writing poetry, and I saw this thing that said Poetry Slam. And it wasn't really a poetry slam, but they'd called it one. And so I went in and entered and won it. And it was like a week after, so I started writing it. So that was kind of like, it's pretty cool. Friday night, the end of another 5 days of soulless fasting. Nothing left to do but hang up the pickaxe, sit back and get plastered, or the worker ants conjugate to conversate and contemplate the constant compromise for currency that's become so commonplace. But not me though. I got a part-time subsistence. What this translates to is living a half-time existence. I put pen to paper with half-life ambition, searching for predicaments to keep my lifelines in business. A lot of people say that they don't like poetry, but it's just expression. It's the same with hip-hop. It's just expression, you know, and I think it's one of the ultimate forms of expression because it is so free. Landfall is a poetry and short story kind of journal, which I didn't actually really know much about. Someone that I knew said, you should submit some of your work to this journal, and so I just sent it in and I got accepted. And it wasn't until I started telling people I'd been accepted that people were like, oh, this is a big deal, you know, and I was like, oh, true. And sort of told me about the history of it, that it's kind of like the most prestigious poetry journal or literature journal in New Zealand. It was quite funny though, the piece that they chose was like kind of, I wouldn't have expected it to be that one. It also just having been published in Landfall, there's probably people that would take me a bit more seriously now who necessarily wouldn't. And also I was able to join the New Zealand Author Society because I've been published in a proper publication now, which is sweet. Watch for the seagulls circling human roadkill, the dispossessed and disposable wishing they could grow gills. Look for the booze, the bars, the barbs, the bags of buds, the myriad of drugs we use to heal bloodless cuts. They're all 21st century survival mechanisms. Take two and wait for the side effects to kick in. It's a different kind of living to the one that they sell you. It's a place called nowhere. It's life with just a hint of death.